Every morning, the operator for the biomass heating system comes in, and one of the first things he does is checks the level of the chips in the bins, and if there are if it is getting low and it needs to be recharged, he calls the forestry representative who is responsible for getting the chips down from the forest and unloaded into the bin. The bin capacity, depending on how much heat is needed, is somewhere in the week and a half to 2 week vicinity. So the bins are not being filled every day. It's like every week and a half or 2 weeks they're being filled.
When I do the startup procedure, I'll first open the main box, make sure that all the ash is cleaned out, all of the grates are clear, and then I'll close the main door and get a piece of cardboard and roll it up and slide it in the upper side door, and just take my torch and fire the thing up, and pretty much goes on its own from there. We usually start the system up at the first of the season and let it run all winter time. Unless we have any major failures, we don't have to do a cold start.
As soon as the boiler calls for heat, there is a traveling auger in the bottom of the bin that is part of the delivery system. It travels the whole long length of the bin, and it basically augers on demand, augers chips out the bottom, so it's always taking the oldest chips and getting rid of them. Takes them out the bottom, and they go onto a conveyor belt, which goes and basically dumps into a hopper, which, when the hopper is full, shuts off the conveyor system and the auger system so it doesn't bring any more chips. And then from that hopper, it's augered into a metering auger, which then feeds the boiler, the firebox, and the firebox is fed with the chips, and it has a safety water system so that if fire tries to back up and go back toward the chip bin, it will extinguish it. The object of the wood firebox is to heat the water flowing through the boiler, which is mounted on top of it, and that is then circulated through the pipe distribution system throughout our campus, which has a supply and a return line in each one of the buildings.
The way the biomass boiler works is it heats the water, and then we have insulated piping that goes underground, all of those 5 buildings.
When the water temperature in the system reaches 180 degrees, basically the wood boiler throttles back and just maintains whatever it needs to keep the 180 degree water temperature. When it can no longer keep the 180 degree temperature and the water temperature in fact falls to 150 degrees, the natural gas boiler that is sitting in the same room recognizes that the wood boiler needs some help and kicks in and heats the water back up to the temperature that's needed for as long as it's needed. It's under local automatic control. However, there are phone lines that can query it. Our vendor, who is in Michigan and in many other places putting in systems, can get on the phone and call and determine what the error codes are in our system from wherever. The wood boiler heating system has been completely integrated into our Boulder County system.
We clean out the ash about once a week. I like to do it on Thursdays so that I've got a clean box for the weekends. But on the colder days, it can be twice a week.
The ash is not harmful. Basically it is a good compost. My understanding is it helps in gardens. It's helpful for that. It's also been considered to be used on some of our streets in the wintertime for slick roads, to be able to, instead of using salt or mag chloride. However, the first study that we did was we didn't produce enough of that to be able to do much of it for the county. So It's still under study. They're still determining what they're going to do with this ash. But it is not perceived as a big problem.